stopping to gasp for breath, or something less dramatic like taking a sip of water, please excuse me. So yeah, as Chris said, my name is Benji. I'm stealing this from someone. They refer to themselves as a recovering engineer. I'm a recovering doctor. I'm currently doing my second year of internship, and I'm Director of Business Development of Wits Healthcare Innovation, which I'm going to be speaking to you guys about this evening. So yeah, thank you so much for having me. Thank you for listening in. Really appreciate, Chris, what you've done in building the community. And yeah, I'm very, very honored to be here. So welcome to Wits Healthcare Innovation, where we focus on catalyzing bottom-up innovation within the public and private healthcare sectors of South Africa. Now, our mission is effectively that, but we do have some secondary aims, which all tie into our mission, which is to catalyze the creation and implementation of scalable, patient-centered, and technology-driven solutions to South Africa's most urgent and challenging healthcare problems. Now, some of our secondary aims is to create an innovation ecosystem around the public healthcare sector. And we feel this is really important because there's been no institutional movement from government to build up the digital infrastructure. And so building up an ecosystem is so important for a variety of reasons. We have to lean on each other to fill gaps. Startups are very siloed. We find that startups are working to solve the same problems, whereas other startups have already solved that problem. So we feel in order to really digitally transform the public healthcare sector, we have to build an ecosystem. The second secondary aim is to create a culture of innovation and entrepreneurship in the South African healthcare sector, Wits Medical School and Donald Gordon Medical Center, and that I'll expand upon a bit later. The third secondary aim is really important, and that's really to create a new generation of healthcare workers who are skilled in problem solving beyond the bedside. And we feel this is so important is twofold. The first is that if one is to successfully implement a health tech solution, one needs buy-in from healthcare practitioners. But if healthcare practitioners don't see the value of innovation and technology, then it's going to be very hard to get adoption. But the second reason is we feel the best innovators are in fact doctors themselves, who are very intimate with the problems faced in a system on a daily basis. And then finally is to assist healthcare startups with conducting credible research to validate their technology. Something, again, I'll expand upon a little bit later. So just a bit of a background and coming into WHI's story. So we all know that our public healthcare system today faces extreme patient loads, rising costs, increasing resource constraints, however, maybe not in the digital marketing aspect. I don't know if anyone saw the recent news lately, but it seems like the budget for that was pretty high. I joke. And definitely suboptimal health outcomes. And that's something both from a epidemiological and personal perspective that I see. Healthcare workers in South Africa, in our public system, we fight daily challenges, overwhelming patient loads, rising costs, resource constraints, and again, suboptimal health outcomes. And the consequences are clear, both in terms of our public healthcare workforce and of course then patients. So high burnout rates among healthcare practitioners, mental health struggles, emigration, and reduced capacity to deliver quality care to our population. Again, on a personal and on a, I would say on a organizational level. If the organization is suffering, one cannot meet the metrics that the organization is set out to do. And that is effectively good patient outcomes. And of course, if an individual is struggling with one of the above 3 points, patient outcomes will suffer. So WHI was initially inspired by the success of Critis Care Hospital's innovation program. It's a staff-led initiative, and it provides healthcare workers with support and time to solve real problems in public healthcare. We work with South Africa's healthcare workers to create bottom-up innovation and change within the industry. These healthcare workers are highly motivated to solve problems, like I said, because we face them every day. But over and above just working with healthcare workers, we really do recognize the benefits of an interdisciplinary approach in solving problems, and it's so needed. The integration of expertise is what's really going to move technological advancement, specifically within healthcare, forward. So in terms of how we're structured, we're a division of Wits Health Consortium. which is wholly owned by University of the Witwatersrand. We are supported by Faculty of Health Sciences and have a good relationship with them. Excuse me. Members of our core team, a lot of us work within the public healthcare system, and we've got very good relationships with key stakeholders, both in academic departments within the Wit circuit of hospitals, as well as more on the academic side. We're able also to secure funding and issue 18A tax exemptions through Wits Foundation. And then here's just a list of some of our advisors. The Dean of Health Sciences, Prof. Shabir Madi, Prof. Alex van der Heever, Prof. Dr. Mohammed Delwai, who co-founded EM Guidance, and I'll speak to that a bit later, and Vincent Hoffman, the co-founder and CEO of Better Work, which is a design thinking and organizational change company. So let's have a look at the opportunity and specifically to the South African context. So if we look at the Sustainable Development Goals, Goal 3 is to ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. And I think, the sustainable development goals are really aimed at developing countries and trying to bridge the gap. But I just almost as a digression quickly, Dr. Daniel Kraft, who's the medical chair of Singularity, which is really the cutting edge of medicine, he speaks about how we're practicing sick care and not healthcare. And currently healthcare is quite reactive in nature, and technology is going to allow for it to be more proactive and preventative in the future. And if we kind of pick apart the sustainable development goal, on one end of the spectrum at the cutting edge of medicine, it speaks to health and wellness rather than curing disease and illness. And so too does this sustainable development goal. But it's not such a good picture if we look at what's actually happening. So currently South African SDG index on good health and well-being is 51 out of 100. I'm probably the least mathematical person in the room, but even I know that's not so great. And only 3 out of 13 indicators have improved since 2015. If we look at some of the projections, they're equally as grim. And we can see why on the left here. So just running you through from a South African public healthcare perspective. So currently we service around 45 million people, 78% of the population. The slow progress on health sustainable development goals is obviously an issue, but if we project, it's only projected to improve by 2 points in the next 10 years if we carry on the same way we have been. The cost of care is rising. This is a really important point. The difficult implementation of change through structures in the public healthcare system. There are so many barriers to entry, increasing immigration of the health workforce. And again, that ties into culture, something we're working actively to improve. And then, of course, this uncertainty with the NHI, National Health Insurance. So this slide kind of paints a grim picture, but it also brings with it an opportunity. And when Dr. Max Rath, who founded WHI, started this journey, he looked to the Grooteskier Innovation Initiative, and it had a proven track record, validating the following assumptions. So given the right support, healthcare workers are really strongly motivated to dedicate additional time to projects in their scope of practice with the potential for impact. Bottom-up innovation, specifically within the public healthcare sector, can create sustainable impact. And healthcare workers, although very specialized in one field with very little exposure to any other discipline, are able to collaborate across disciplines and industries. And if we look to the right, there were some tangible outcomes and solutions that were developed and implemented with great success. And those were emergency surgery triage platform, UCT clinical skill simulation lab, breast wellness program, targeted education for patients, electronic continuity of care record, and smoking cessation clinic and app. And so there was the light, and this really paved the way for us as an organization to say it can be done. And of course, the solutions have a huge focus on technology. So it's got to, of course, I'm preaching to the choir here. We all know technology has a great potential for cost-effective and scalable impact in healthcare. The World Health Assembly in 2018 stressed the potential of digital technologies to advance the Sustainable Development Goals, And I think we're probably here for, all in agreement that it's in fact the best way, not just the potential, not just having potential. Now, government has outlined their digital health strategy between 2019 to 2024 to establish a technology ecosystem that supports the sector. However, we have to be realistic, and we are not waiting for them. Although, had I known, again, going back to the recent news, that digital marketing was such an asset, I would have started my startup, which also does digital marketing, albeit not for government, a lot sooner. And finally, growing evidence base of South African tech-based solutions in their ability to meet the sector's needs. Now, these are two, and very, very happy to see one of many, but two of the most successful solutions. So EM guidance is almost the Bible, and is on every clinician's phone, both in public and private. So access to locally relevant medicine and clinical guidelines, it's free to use. It has well over 22,000 medical professionals using the platform. 2018 Seed Stars winner, Best Health Tech. And then if we look at Vula, Vula is a solution for medical referrals, and effectively aims to solve the problem of a peripheral, non-specialized facility having access to specialized care. Also free to use. It's officially on the Department of Health platform, well over 8,500 users just in the Western Cape. It's being rolled out. I can tell you from personal experience, it's being widely used in Gauteng, and it was voted MTN App of the Year in 2019 and most innovative app of 2015. And of course, this goes without saying, COVID-19 has dramatically accelerated the uptake of new technology in healthcare, and the crisis has opened the door to new opportunities at the confluence of health and tech, which WHR plans to leverage. So if we look at our theory of change, we begin with resources, and at the core and the most important resource is our human resource, which is our core interdisciplinary team, which we're building out as we go on. We have our WHR Student Society, which I see as fundamentally important. We have to start instilling these values that I've spoken about at a grassroots level. Strategic partners, we really do collaboration and sharing of knowledge. And of course, funding and revenue is so important for so many reasons, for the identity of the organization, for the proper and timeliest implementation of a solution, and so much more. Then we look to activities. So again, I'll elaborate on some of these as we go along. We run innovation drives, incubation of solutions by leveraging the available skills and resources of both the university and our partners. We run events and education, and of course, support and guide our student society. If we look at our outputs, scalable solutions that are aligned to our sustainable development goals, and also creating and fostering the innovation ecosystem within the public healthcare sector. Then, of course, every organization cannot run without a solid and consistent culture. And we try and maintain a culture of social entrepreneurship within healthcare. Again, trying to bring up a new generation of healthcare workers that are not only skilled within medical problem solving, but also innovative problem solving, engagement and retention of the healthcare workforce. And finally, it all culminates into our impact. And ultimately, with very blue sky thinking, is the tech transformation of the South African healthcare sector, both public and private. So with all that being said, what have we done and what are we doing? So our activities are as follows, and I'm now going to elaborate. So as it stands, we run one major innovation drive a year, and we're experimenting with different formats. We also form strategic partners who are running their own innovation drives. Incubators, so projects are developed to MVP, early solution over a year. Innovators and entrepreneurs collaborate with our interdisciplinary team. Mentors and partners are matched to the needs of the team. Projects are tested in clinical settings through partner hospitals in the WITS network. And that's now formalized with research. And business and legal guidance we get through Wits Health Consortium. We also run innovation events in education. So in-house, shall I say, is 2 to 3 main innovation events per year. And these are largely aimed at inspiring, educating, nurturing, collaboration, and creating hope. Our student society, so guidance of an interdisciplinary cross-faculty student society, which is kind of reflective of what we do as our organization, and that's bringing together healthcare faculty, engineering faculty, nurture a culture of innovation at an undergrad level. It's so important to do that. Support annual innovation events, innovation drives, and the growth, and of course, funding support. Sorry. And research. So we conduct research, which can also be in the form of a clinical trial, leveraging the fact that we're a division of its consortium, which runs clinical trials on behalf of health tech startups and businesses to validate their solution in academic and published research. One of the kind of catchphrases, at least of 21st century medicine, is evidence-based medicine. So practicing medicine that's based off of scientific and academic research. So I've kind of coined the term evidence-based tech. And that's what we aim to do within our research capabilities. So innovation drives. In 2019, we ran the Barra One Health Tech Hackathon, where we brought together a variety of skill sets and collaborated with the clinical staff, which included nurses of the Barra Pediatric Surgery Department. And out of it came a clinic booking system that we're about to launch. And just to give kind of 2 lessons from this journey, was it's so important to have healthcare workers intimately involved with the development of the solution. So, you know, technology for technology's sake might not actually be so effective in the real world. And one of the 2 core metrics of this clinic booking system is decreased waiting time in queues and continuity of care. And what I mean by that is how the current system of clinics work across the public healthcare sector is a patient will see a different doctor every time they come. And it's very difficult to provide good quality healthcare or build a relationship with someone you're only seeing once. And so when we refer to continuity of care, the system ensures that the same patient sees the same doctor every time. But what we also realized was the dev house and the design team did this on a pro bono basis. And again, everyone here is a lot more technical than me, but this is not some advanced machine learning algorithm or advanced software. It's taken a year to do, you know, and hence we pivoted in the way we view ourselves and in the way we view the importance of funding. And that's why I said earlier, you know, implementing in a timeous manner. Having said that, it's been a success and we're about to launch. We're also extremely proud. We're a partner of Endeavor. So for those that don't know, Endeavor is an international startup and entrepreneurship accelerator. And we're partnering with them for our innovation drive of 2021, where we'll be sending out calls for proposals to the academic departments of WITS, seeing what problems there are out there. The chosen problem will then be put out to Endeavor's global network of innovators and businesses, and we will build a solution and scale the solution hopefully throughout South Africa and internationally. We're also an official partner of Basel University's Innovation Office, and we're partnering with them at least now for their Mirahi initiative, which is very similar to the partnership with Endeavor, sending out calls for proposals, but with a emphasis on vaccine innovation, anywhere from cold chain distribution all the way to how to combat hesitancy. And we'll also be partnering with Basel in terms of research to do cross-collaborative and international research. Then also something we're very proud, we're officially the digital transformation partner of the Donald Gordon Medical Center. Now, this has been tried time and time again in Donald Gordon. The vision of DGMC or Donald Gordon Medical Center is to be the health tech innovation hub of the country. And yet they haven't been able to do so. And we've identified it's not a expertise problem, because DGMC is home to some of, if not the best clinicians in the world. it's a culture problem. And so we're not just going in, trying to create and implement and innovate. We're working with Better Work, who specialize in cultural change in organizations. We'll be running a 12-week investigation into the barriers, the cultural barriers, the professional barriers, and the personal barriers to innovation and to technology. And only then will we begin the process. And we view Donald Gordon as the testing ground, the playground, both to test and implement tech solutions, as well as to conduct research. And then we look at innovation events in education. So in 2019, we ran almost what was a TED-like education event, which was attended by over 100 students and faculty members. We ran a series of meetups in 2020, although unfortunately due to COVID, that stopped. But we ran one with a startup called Rise 18, which is a mental health app. We were very fortunate to collaborate with Investec last year. We ran a 4-part webinar series, both with the New School and Investec, focusing on a number of topics. So we had Dr. Daniel Kraft, who's the chair of Singularity for Medicine, and he spoke about the future of healthcare in a post-pandemic world. We had Dr. Amanda Salmon, and she spoke about designing better healthcare, why everyone should know more about design. It was about design thinking. We had Dr. Jennifer Wild, who's an international mental health expert, as well as Dr. Tsitsi, who's head of internal medicine at Barra, and that was all about mental health and resiliency among healthcare professionals. And then we had Dr. Chris Matthew, who runs the health informatics. He's head of health informatics at Netcare, and he spoke with Kojo Bafu, and they spoke about understanding and using abundant data in healthcare. We were also very fortunate to run a session for Endeavour and the UK South Africa Tech Hub for their health tech ecosystem builder, where they brought together some of South Africa's up and coming health tech startups. And Chris actually was running one of the stations. We called it a speed dating sessions, where we ran a medical, a business, a technology, a informatics, and I forget the last one, but there were 5 stations, speed dating stations that we ran. We're also an official strategic partner to the Africa Telehealth Conference 2021. I know it was sent out, but if anyone would like to attend, we can get you on there for free. And then finally, WellDocSoc, which was actually started by a classmate and now a colleague of mine, very much focusing on mental health among healthcare practitioners. And it's something we're all very passionate about. And then again, our student society are involved in a variety of initiatives. They also were very good in the COVID response. They quickly rose to the occasion, organizing 200 high quality visors to students in need. And working with students from all of its faculties, we challenge students to find creative solutions to healthcare problems in South Africa, just as we ask of everyone. And it's definitely growing, and we expect the future leaders of its healthcare innovation will come from the student society. And then finally, research. And this was really interesting because this is something we didn't envision, at the beginning of WHI and when I joined, but it really came as a response to what the needs of health tech startups were. And we currently, and in fact, before I speak to what we're currently doing, this became so evident that for so many reasons, implementing tech in academic research is key. It's key, firstly, from a regulatory perspective. Every country has their own regulatory body, but for us, say SAPRA, actually require often times for there to be clinical research behind a solution. But also, as I mentioned before, the whole of 21st century medicine is really evidence-based medicine. And that's the language that healthcare practitioners speak. And academic research, as a colleague of mine in WHI said, Gareth, research is a currency. It's really, the more research a clinician has, the more well lauded they are. And so when we're trying to get adoption of a solution, it really helps to speak in terms of research. And specifically in South Africa, it's so important because it allows academic research, allows you to bypass all the governmental bureaucracy and red tape and that one would traditionally have to go through to implement a solution. Now, in our early conversations with Basel University, the exact same need arose in Switzerland and in Europe. And so they were doing exactly what we were doing for some time until we both met. And it was just crazy, this convergence from such different healthcare ecosystems, culminating to this. And so this is definitely something that's we emphasize and we focus on. So we're working on 3 research projects now. So just to run through them quickly, the first, which we've got an ethics approval for, we work with a startup called Envisionit, Deep AI, and they do machine learning in radiology. And our research is basically utilizing a deep learning algorithm as a clinical decision support tool, projected aid for breast cancer screening and mammography. And that's really to democratize healthcare and provide specialized expertise in the most remote areas. And we're busy working with them and very excited to see what comes out of that. The second one is a blockchain-based incentive system for primary public healthcare. You can kind of think of it like Vitality, but for public. Excuse me. And finally, evaluating the effectiveness of patient-generated data using Abbey Health Stations as a tool. So Abbey Health Stations, it almost looks like a big ATM. It performs 15 health checks in under 3 minutes, and it's patient-generated data. And those are the 3 research projects we're involved in now. We're building out a research team as our organization. And like I said, we'll be collaborating with Basel. So this is really exciting stuff. And again, leveraging our relationship with WITS Consortium, who run clinical trials. And therefore, we are able to do this. So just to speak a little bit about our funding model and sustainability, we are still quite new as an organization. So we're still figuring this out and getting it right. But effectively, the way we look at it is a few ways of generating funding for ourselves and revenue. So IP and equity, product revenue, partnering with sponsors and partners in innovation drives, events and webinars. Then sustaining, so e-commerce, we're about to launch an e-commerce platform. And the first product we're launching is a consolidated scrubs platform, because there's so many different scrubs company, but no single platform where one can look. And again, that's just, for the organization to keep it going. And of course, advertising on all platforms, consulting services. And again, this includes research. And then of course, grant funding, as we are able to issue Section 18A certificates. Supplementary is then workshops and then donations, but we mainly focus on 1 and 2. And then just to speak a bit more on integral revenue. So it streams WHR streams that WHR focuses on because of their alignment with our aims. So IP and equity ownership from for-profit startups arising from innovation drives and or incubators. And this is something we're going to be focusing a lot more on in the future. So we either look at pro bono consulting services for percentage share of IP, equity or profit share, technology development partnerships, then revenue from products developed by WHI. So I've got 2 screenshots of our clinic booking system just now, and I'll show you where that fits in. Sponsorship and advertising revenue from innovation drives, events and webinars, and then this research as a service. Then sustaining revenue, corporate sponsorships and grants, specifically with a focus on social impact as a core metric. Advertising revenue, e-commerce platforms to capture the WITS market, and our consulting services. And finally, this is something we're very excited about. It's in the ideation phase. We're getting everything together, but we're going to be building out a incubator. I just made this up now. Actually, I'm going to take it back to the team, WHI incubator. I'll get feedback from you guys afterwards. Otherwise, it's back to the drawing board. But again, this is something that's quite new. So that's kind of just, unfortunately, won't be doing a live demo of the clinic booking system for two reasons. Unfortunately, the dev house is just having issues with their server, and this is what they sent me by now, but also I think the golden rule is never to do live demos. I think me live demoing my voice tonight is a challenge enough, but effectively this is just a snapshot, and we've got space here for advertising because one needs to be realistic about generating sustainable revenue, and getting it from the government is challenging. And then again, just another screenshot. So looking at all of your patients, very happy to do a proper demo, yeah, when we're able to. And that is it. Thank you very much to everyone. I feel like everyone really deserves a prize for enduring my horrific voice tonight. And then just a special thanks to the makers of Disprin 2 antibiotics and cortisone for getting me through this. And again, jokes aside, thank you to everyone for listening, and thank you, Chris, for the awesome opportunity.
Cool, thank you, Benji. Really appreciate that. So we're going to open up now to questions and a little bit of discussion. But just before that, I'm just going to ask everyone in between now and when we open the breakout rooms, if anyone wants to just put suggestions in the chat on what topics they might like a breakout room to have, like medical imaging and ML or public health and ML. If we don't get any suggestions, I'm just going to random it. And the idea there is just have a smaller space to get to know one another a little bit better socially. But yeah, let's move on to questions for Benji. Just on that, I really think, like, from my own experience with the WHI, you guys have done some cool stuff. And one of the reasons why I thought it'd be like a really cool idea for this audience to hear what you guys do is because, you know, you guys sit at the intersection of research and business and healthcare, and it seems like your guys' model is working. So my first question to you, Benji, would be like along the lines of, do you think this model is something that is feasible in other parts of Africa? And would you have advice for anyone who would like to set up something like this, like say in Kenya or Nigeria or Zambia or something like that?
Yeah, so I mean, I can speak to Ghana and Kenya, who I've been on a webinar with some key stakeholders, and they're actually doing some phenomenal things. So I think this model that we're trying to work with is really applicable for any developing country's healthcare system. You know, a developing country's healthcare system faces the same challenges, and in fact, the populations face the same challenges. You know, areas where there's no Wi-Fi, areas where there's no electricity. The primary healthcare problems faced are also very similar, you know, malnutrition, HIV, especially communicable diseases because of living conditions. So if we can get this right here, I think, you know, we're wanting to create something that can be replicable both in a developing and developed country. So the answer is most definitely yes. You know, and I think you might find it to be easier in other African countries. I mean, I can tell you Ghana is doing some very impressive and incredible things, a lot more than our government. So yeah, for sure.
Cool, thanks. And then also you mentioned the Africa Telehealth Conference. I know that you sort of extended an invitation if anyone would like to join. Maybe we should post that on the Discord. But I guess I could also ask here, is there anyone here that might be interested in attending a African telehealth conference? Do you know when the dates are for that?
Not offhand, sorry, but I can send the information. I think I'll tell you now, I think it's 24th to 26th of June. But I'll tell you in 2 seconds. So it is 8th to 9th of June, 2021. And again, obviously it's not, you don't have to join the entire thing. You can have a look at the lineup and see if anything catches your eye to everyone, if you'd want to join.
Cool. I'll see if I can find that lineup and I'll post it in the chat before the end of the meet. Does anyone have any questions for Benji about the talk this evening? Or just in general around this topic of research and healthcare and business collaboration? Sure, RLM.
All right, hi everybody. Okay, thank you so much for the talk. I actually have a question regarding the health tech hackathon that you guys had. If we can talk more about the booking system, right? Firstly, which hospitals will it be implemented in?
Yeah, so we'll be piloting at the rheumatology department at Barra.
At Baragwana Hospital.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so I'm trying to like get the picture here, right? So firstly, what is currently happening at Baragwana? And like, when I hear you saying that the advantageous side of the clinical booking system is that you would get to see the doctor that you previously saw. For people who have gone to Baragwana or had family members at Baragwana, can you tell me more about like how the system is really going to help? Is it more for the nurses, or like how the patients, besides seeing a doctor, what else are the benefits of it all?
Yeah.
Because I just want to get a picture of how the patients are going to receive the system as well. Because another thing about these tech developments is always adoption of it.
Yeah, so there's a few points there. I think healthcare is particularly complex because you always have to ask yourself who's the end user and who's benefiting from the solution.
Yeah.
Generally, that's the same, but in healthcare, it's quite difficult because, you know, oftentimes the end user is the doctor, but the patient actually benefits the most. And so basically the system will be used by number one, doctors, and number two, clerks. Okay. Because clerks are the administrative front of any clinic. So decreased waiting times is absolutely massive. Maybe, you know, I'm a little bit too deep in it, and I should have emphasized that more. But you can imagine having to wait or wake up at 4 a.m., get public transport, sit in a clinic for 10 hours to see the doctor when you might be a parent, you might have work commitments. You know, that's something massive. Yeah. So our system is specifically designed to not overbook on a day and not underbook on a day. Okay. So that's number one. And then the second one, again, from a doctor and patient perspective, continuity of care and being able to see the same clinician is something that only private healthcare patients have been afforded the luxury. And by simply implementing this clinic booking system, we now bring that to public. And so those two things are absolutely massive. The clinic booking system also does have a simple EHR functionality, which is electronic health record. Again, you know, if you look at the filing system now, it's absolutely horrific and inefficient. Yeah.
All right. So just one last question on that, Benji. From a health informatics research point of view, is there any way in the future that we could leverage off the system once it's been implemented?
Yeah, so I think that's such a great question. By virtue of a digital health solution being digital generally, it means it's collecting digital healthcare data. And that really brings with it a hell of a lot of opportunity and leveraging off of any implemented digital healthcare solution. Most of the time, it will have some form of a electronic health record functionality. Whether its primary purpose is to do that or not, you know, is quite irrelevant. And I think leveraging the digitized data collected by health tech solutions is going to be massive in the future. So absolutely, yes. Of course, there needs to be POPI provision and POPI compliance. But yeah, absolutely. And that's something I'm very, very, very excited for. And I'm sure our machine learning colleagues in this talk are probably more excited about it. So absolutely.
No, that's good to hear. No, thank you so much for this talk. This was very insightful.
Absolute pleasure.
Cool. Are there any other questions for Benji?
Can I give some comments or just questions?
Oh, comments and questions. Please go ahead. This is like a round table discussion. Go ahead.
So I am 70 Turkey. I am from Tunisia, so I am from the other side of the continent. So my first comment is that when we talk about medical informatics in general, as I am a medical student, we believe that people are more kind of they show more interest about trends. For example, now there is machine learning that is going viral online. Blockchain, well, there is something called IT, Internet of Things. There is cloud computing that is going viral, computer science. So we would like to apply all of that across the biomedical applications in Africa. I think this is the kind of bad way of thinking, because Africa, I'm saying about Tunisia because I'm from Tunisia and I'm working for the domain for years now. I think that cannot handle with kind of computer applications that require lots and lots of resources.
So just a suggestion. Do you maybe turn your video off. Your audio is coming through not so great. Sure. So yeah, please proceed.
Okay. So do you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I was saying is that there is a trend about dealing with tendencies in African biomedical research, which is kind of a wrong way of thinking. And I think that we should rather make more interest to doing biomedical research, biomedical informatics research, or bioinformatics research using a low cost resources. For example, there are many free available resources. We are talking about Wikipedia, Wikidata. There is the resources provided by the National Institutes of Health, for example, PubMed, for example, Mesh. There are plenty of resources online, and we can use them and make effective applications that are adapted to our needs, and we don't spend too much money or having struggles. So this is one major way of thinking. And I have published several papers about this issue. Maybe I will show the link later. So this is my major remark about that, and I think that this should be highlighted in the next few years. The second thing is that the governments, mainly in Tunisia, think about biomedical informatics as a package, where there is electronic health record in HL7 guidance, for example. There is a kind of architecture for IoT. We just adopt them from France, and we will spend millions of dollars, for example, to implement them across the region, and then maybe it cannot work. because we do not have the same capacities, we do not have the same internet speed, we do not have the same kind of maintenance for computer resources. So this kind of working with governments seems to be too hard, because you have to think as a tech advocate, a biomedical tech advocate. You should convince the government that maybe if you can develop something local with your resources, with something that is adapted to our context, it should be better than adapted the stuff as it is and just applied in Africa or do it. There's one thing that you have mentioned here. You have said that there is an evidence-based tech or something like that. Well, what I think this is like you have to try something. I don't know if the idea is reaching. Okay, so what I mean here is that the evidence-based medicine and what people think in my medical school, like for example, is that people just try package on people. For example, let's say clinical decision support for based on medical images, and we just take the package as it is and we try it on people, and we make a kind of clinical trial, and we get the results. However, computer science and biomedical informatics, there is something which is called an explainable AI and trustworthy AI, which implies that every process, it is not just an evidence-based thing. It is rather that a process, it should be explained, and its efficiency should be explained in a proper way. For example, we have tried this and we got a precision of 0.9 because of this, and this step in the algorithm has ameliorated because the result because of this condition and this condition. So maybe these two ideas should be rather highlighted in African research. So that's all what I have to say here.
Cool. Thank you for your contribution. So you gave us quite a lot to think about there. I mean, I appreciate that, and I can also say, like, explainable and interpretable AI is something that I definitely thought about a lot, and I know there are some people here as well who can resonate with that, as well as the disparities that we see with research, you know, inside and outside of Africa. So I am going to, just in the essence of time, move some of the conversation along a little bit. So I hope if there's anything that you'd like Benji to answer directly, yeah, please put that through in the chat. Otherwise, just before we get to like 7 o'clock, because I think that is when this part of the session is going to be done. And the next part of the session is basically just an opportunity, if you guys are keen, to get to know one another, to provide a sort of some breakout rooms just to do that. And the idea there is it's going to be like, you know, 3 to 4 people. And again, what we're trying to achieve with these meetups and these monthly meets, and with Sisonke Biotech in general, isn't a series of webinars. It's trying to cultivate a community of people from the healthcare space and people from the machine learning space who are researchers and practitioners, and you know, who are either looking for a project to get involved in, or who've been interested in either healthcare or machine learning, and just need a point to get started. So we'd like to be able to provide those kind of connections. I mean, I think we do have a mix of medical and machine learning people in this conversation as is. And just to reiterate, with these monthly meets, we're trying to vary the focus of the talks. 1 month healthcare and 1 month a little bit more machine learning. So next month, the talk will be more machine learning focused. But yeah, just in terms of some of the stuff that we're looking at the moment, Brad, do you want to give us a little bit of an update on some of the discussions that we've had about potentially putting together a paper for the FAIR workshop? Maybe you want to tell us some of the ideas that we've had around that approach to using GANs for like a robust patient record system?
Sure. So the project I was sort of looking into was looking at GAN's sort of very strong image priors. So if you give a GAN a significant training data of a lot of diverse X-rays, there's a lot of evidence now that a lot of the newer GAN architectures can be used to reconstruct individual images, even though they've never really seen those images before, just because their generation ability is so powerful. Well, now, what a potential utility of that is that the latent space is generally, in that case, a compressed representation of that image. So there can be a version where you can compress that latent space into some kind of scannable or portable object that can be more easily placed in a patient's file, given to them to convey as a form of ultra low bandwidth transmission of images. That technique would pretty much be applicable to any kind of encode that encodes an image or text or any kind of generative algorithm into a latent representation that's small the actual image or any other kind of data type that we're looking at. And the benefit would be is that as long as it's produced in a standardized way, it can be reproduced at any facility which had access to the tech, irrespective of where they go. So it's a form of ultra low bandwidth conveyance of high quality, in this case, radiology. The few stumbling blocks of it is that even though it is a compressed representation, it's still difficult to build a standard scannable object because QR codes aren't necessarily designed for high density numerical information. So that's sort of where the working point is. And I think there are a few other issues to look at in terms of how diverse the GAN has to be, whether you can use one for multiple types of to build one per image type. I think there's a number of works that can be built off there, but I think there's quite a nice set of stuff there for looking at developing AI or AI for the developed world applications, especially because it sort of implies that you can encode a lot of the metrics into the representation itself. So there's not really that much of a risk of sending images or giving people scannable objects will produce completely different scan. You can at least say that this is a poor representation or not even give it to them, and that's the case. So that's the one idea. I don't know if anyone else was really working on anything else at the moment. I know we discussed the idea of a white paper looking into the sort of looking into more the grassroots and focus on artificial intelligence and machine learning and resource constrained environments, particularly within the African context. I think Chris maybe probably a bit of us about that.
Cool. But yeah, thanks, Brad. So just everyone, I know that people from diverse backgrounds here, so a lot of that might have contained jargon that was very machine learning specific. But the point of that there really was, if there's anyone who's interested in medical imaging and healthcare systems that might like to collaborate on a workshop paper, then there's an opportunity for that. And I see Senyo is not here anymore, but I had a conversation with him earlier this week around ways to go about doing this. And he cited the Rust programming community follows a working group structure around various topics. And I thought it might be quite interesting then to put together a working group around a paper like that. So keep your eyes on the Discord if that's something that you are interested in. I know that particular deadline is in sort of 20 days. So we'll see if we do manage to get anything out of that. Otherwise, we are putting together a list of other conference workshops to try and submit to. And just on that, the reason that we're targeting conference workshops in particular is because generally those are sort of the lowest barrier to entry to get involved in. And they also then just provides us some direction and some means of opportunity to work together on stuff. Yeah, so before we do any kind of breakout, is there anything that anyone would like to raise or chat about? Otherwise, I'm just going to be randoming us into some rooms, and then you're welcome to stay there and chat as long as you want. I'll keep them open until the last person leaves. But also, if you want to leave after this, you're welcome to do that as well. Yeah, anything else from anyone? Otherwise, we can thank our speaker again and then head into the breakout rooms. And then also, thanks for sharing your Google Scholar profile with us. I appreciate that. I'd say also repost that to the Discord, because sometimes stuff gets lost in these Zoom chats. Cool. Well, you know what? This group is already quite small. I mean, we're 9 people. Should we just use this as an open form of chatting? Is there? Do individuals perhaps want to introduce themselves and maybe take 2 to 3 minutes to chat about their interests? And that might be an opportunity to, I don't know, connect or direct individuals in any particular way. And I'm just going to do this in an alphabetical order. So, and Bolu, do you maybe want to start?
All right, sure. Good evening. My name is Bolu. I'm a 6th-year medical student from University of Ibadan. My research interests are population genetics and looking at, especially in Africa, population genetics of neurodegenerative diseases. So I'm particularly interested in, I'm an aspiring physician scientist. So that's my area of interest, but I'm still a budding researcher. So I'm still trying to gain competencies in bioinformatics and computational genomics, and see how I can apply machine learning techniques in data analysis of genetics. So I think the basic idea is, of course, I think for medical practitioners would understand that about 2% of the genomic data worldwide is just 2% is from Africa. So a lot of we need to get African data out there and analyze so as to be, since the talk in town now is evidence-based medicine. So we're really going to be successful in the area of personalized medicine, genomic medicine. There needs to be more of African data out there. So those are my area of interest, and I'm hoping to connect someone who could mentor me in that area and get me going. And so say, yeah, thanks.
Oh, thank you, Bolu. I appreciate that. And setting up mentorship type relationships is also something that you'd like to do. So I think if that's something that you're looking for, I would encourage you to, I think everyone has the ability on the Discord to set up arbitrary channels. Perhaps set one up for that, or maybe just ask in the general chat. Again, I'll say like talk about what you're interested in, and like if anyone's keen to give you a hand on that. Otherwise, Chris, would you like to go ahead and tell us a little about yourself and what you're interested in?
Yes, I'm somewhere. I can't talk, but I've chatted.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I think you can check in the chat.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah. Also, guys, if you don't really feel like speaking, don't feel pressured to. Awesome to have you here. Claudio, Claudio, how's it going now? I know you're an alumni of the AIMS.
Yes, good evening, everyone. I hope you can hear me.
Yeah,
Hello?
coming through loud and clear.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, indeed. You're coming through clear.
Yes. Oh, thank you for this for Benji, and thank you, Chris, for this meeting also. Like I'm a ML engineer, machine learning engineer. I'm interested in AI, application of AI in healthcare. Unfortunately, I think one of the previous speakers, they have said something about data related to the context of Africa, because that was the things make me think about application of AI in medicine or healthcare. And I was able to work on the data. Currently, I'm working on the data, which is based on NLP. I'm using NLP techniques of AI. I'm working on a radiology report currently. And I've started a new program, and my project is based on human and computer interaction. I think that's all for me.
Cool, thanks. Yeah. If you're interested in healthcare and NLP, I do think we have an interest group channel for that. Cool. Samiratu, sorry, I hope I'm saying that right. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, you're saying it right. My name is Samira Tutosi. I'm a Cameroonian. And currently I'm studying, I'm in my final year studying computer science at the African Leadership University here in Rwanda. Yeah, so like I'm like interested in machine learning. So like I joined this group because I want like to understand the healthcare sector and see how like how to incorporate the two, either like through research or through software projects. Thank you.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, welcome. And then Tim, would you like to tell us a little about yourself?
Sure. Can you guys hear me well?
Yes, indeed.
Okay. I am Tim Odonga. I am from Uganda. So I graduated with a master's degree from CMU Africa in electrical and computer engineering. So I have experience with machine learning. I would say I'm interested in research in medical image computing and machine learning and computer vision. I would say I'm also interested in trustworthy machine learning and specifically, I would say explainability and fairness, because I would say that these are like important topics on the continent specifically. So I'd say those are my broad interests in general. At the moment, I'm not working on a research project to be specific. Yeah, so I'll say that's just of my background and my research interests. I'll say I'm trying to get into the healthcare research. So I'll say that's why I joined this group specifically.
Cool. Well, welcome. And I really hope that we'll be able to connect you with someone in the healthcare space that can do that. Yeah. So just a little bit more on you know what it is that we're trying to achieve and sort of like where it is that we've come from, because there are definitely a lot of new faces at the meeting this month. I don't know how many people here are familiar with what the Masekane NLP or Africa NLP group have been doing, but that sort of approach of participatory research is really where we're going forwards. And you know, there's you know, the ownership in this community is, you know, for all of us. And the idea here is, if there's something that you think, like a project that you'd like to take forward, or any kind of research that you would like to be doing, this is a place to try and engage with other individuals on the African continent. So, you know, if there is a particular project that you have in mind, please, our primary like space for discussion is on the Discord. You know, don't like it's completely open. Like there's I'd definitely encourage people to put something forward. But yeah, does anyone have any questions at this point?
I would say I do. Are
Sure,
there any ongoing projects in the group, or is it that there are no projects?
Cool. So we've sort of just gotten together as a group. So we're still looking for projects. There's nothing ongoing. I think the way that we're trying to bootstrap projects now is just to target conference workshops, because I think those are sort of like the lowest hanging fruit. But no, there are no ongoing projects at this point in time. But we are actively looking for a project. You know, if there is one that you can think of that would be good to rally the community, for sure. The problems that we've experienced in the past is, for instance, well, like the Masekane group has machine translation as a singular task that is quite big in that space. There are so many different things in, you know, healthcare that it's hard to pick one thing and try to rally the group around that. So if you would like to start like a project group, I think the Sisonke Biotech purpose there is to then try and help connect you with other individuals who might be interested in that same kind of project. So yeah, so sorry that we don't have anything ongoing at the moment, but that's essentially what we're trying to bootstrap with these kind of meetings. And if you have a project in mind that you'd like to do, then I'll encourage you to try engage with individuals in this community to see who might want to join you on that.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, I know it's like it is a little bit strange. I guess we're trying to do, you know, this very like distributed, independent research, grassroots. It's not straightforward or easy, but I think it can be robust and sustainable. And I think part of that is, I can tell you from my side, we'll be here sort of every month, if you guys want to connect. And also, if you want to be a little bit more involved, there are the weekly meets. And that's, I think, also a great opportunity to, if you do have a project idea, to present that. But yeah, it is getting a bit late. It is already 20 past. If there's nothing else that anyone wants to bring up for general discussion, I think I can maybe call it for this evening. And also thanks again to Benji for that great talk. So the recording, I'm not going to post the entire recording online. It'll mainly be the talk and the first set of questions. And that'll be available in the Discord and later on our website. Yes, so yeah, if there's any other sort of general topics for discussion that anyone would like to bring up while we're still here, we can do that now. Otherwise, I think we can call it for this evening. How do you guys feel?
Thank you so much.
Cool. Well, I hope to see some of you guys at some of the weekly meets if you're keen to get a little bit more involved. Otherwise, I hope to engage with you guys in the Discord channel. Myself personally, I'm not going to be heading up any research initiatives until I'm done with my master's. Oh, sorry, I didn't even give you guys a background on myself. I'm Chris. I'm a medical doctor. I got a medical degree, but I'm busy doing a master's in computer science in South Africa. My interests are at the intersection of computational neuroscience and machine learning, mostly multi-agent reinforcement learning. I'm really interested in machine learning and public health. So if I get a chance, if I submit my master's before October, there is a deadline for a NeurIPS workshop on machine learning and public health. So I am keen, if anyone's keen to write a workshop paper on machine learning and public health, let's put together a working group. But yeah.
Yeah, do you have a project in mind already for that?
No, I don't have a project in mind. I just know that that's a workshop that I'd like to consider.
Yeah. I just suggested some things in the chat earlier about digitizing medical records in Africa, like the extent of digitization of health records. That was just and then maybe integration of clinical data with omics data. Those are the two things I had in mind. So I don't know how to go about it anyway, but they are just suggestions going forward.
No, I think those are fantastic suggestions, especially because in machine learning you can't do any analysis until you have data, right? And electronic health records are at the heart of that. And I'm very passionate about open source in that space, because open digital infrastructure, I think, is a very good approach for that. And you'll see that even when it comes to like interoperability protocols, things like FHIR, like the FHIR protocol, has been gaining a lot of traction in the last couple of years. So that's at least a good sign, I guess, which means there is being progress made. But I do think that we have a unique set of incentive structures in Africa, and that might be a good place to start for, how do we tackle the problem of electronic health records. But what I will do is because I don't want to lose the comments that you've had, so I'm going to save the chat from this Zoom meet, and I'll just post it in the monthly meet on the Discord so that that information is still available if anyone wants to continue those conversations.
Yeah, sure.
Cool. Yeah, thanks everyone. It's been really great hanging out. I hope to see you again either at the weekly meets or at the next monthly meeting.
Yeah, bye. Cheers.
Cool. Cheerio.
Cheers.
Bye.